everything kind of art becomes itself naturally. Creativity just pours out because you're just
Mm.
wondering about the universe and the environment around you and why things are. And so Serjan and I've had a lot of really interesting talks about, nature and the math behind nature and the science behind nature and all
Mm.
that stuff, and us, dissecting that and creating visuals from it. So Serjan's got some cool things planned today. Going to show you some stuff. We're going to pass the screen off to him. And then if you guys have questions, Joe is going to be in the chat. So make sure you hit up Joe because he's going to be there gathering questions. And yeah, it's going to be an awesome stream today. I hope you guys are all doing well. Everybody's healthy. I'm still fighting my cold. But Sergey, want to say hi and say what's up to peeps?
Hey guys.
Yo, yo. Well, there's no response, but I'll say hi for you.
It's like being on Oprah, but there's like nobody in the audience. Right? It's like you can't. Yeah.
It's exactly like being on Oprah. If Oprah was a white male with a beard. Yeah.
May I ask you something? Like how you work? Like sometimes you send messages at like 4 a.m. or like 1 a.m. Like what's your schedule like? Like is you sleep, but it seems like you work a lot.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. And that's something I was thinking about making a video on because it's really difficult for me. It's been weird because I've been training really hard. So training jujitsu,
Mm.
and jujitsu, like when I train really hard, like I'm completely depleted physically. But last night I had really crazy rolls. I went to sleep at 2 o'clock and then I woke up at 4.
Mm.
I couldn't go to sleep until about 5:30 ish. I went back to sleep and then I woke up at 10. So my schedule, I just had to let my
Mm.
body recover, but it wasn't enough. I needed like a long 8 hour stint. So sometimes I get excited. I send you stuff, and then I get up in the middle of the night. I start going on my phone and Pinterest, and then I let my brain kind of wind out, and then I go back to sleep.
Mm.
So it's really difficult, though. Sometimes I'm able to have a good schedule, and sometimes I'm not. So when I'm really deep into it, as you know, like when I'm building passion projects and client work and stuff,
Mhm.
my brain's just a big like working machine and constantly wants to go. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
difficult. How about yourself? What's your sleep schedule like?
Dude, go about, I don't know, go to bed at 11, wake up at 6 always, and start at 7 and go to bed at 11. Like that's just pretty much standard. Like I usually I work in 2 hour increments.
Mm-hmm.
So I work for 2 hours, I take 1 hour break, I work for another 2 hours, and just like this until 11 or until 10 p.m.
Wow.
But this just helps me to live really structured because when I like it really helps me to start and complete,
Yeah.
and it just gives this sort of mental fulfillment to my reptilian brain where you have structure and you have a sense of completion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is good. Otherwise, and catching myself when I really fuck around and like I just well, you start doing work that's really not good,
Yeah.
but not recognizing. So it actually helps me to slow down and recognize that, okay, reassess, recalibrate, and move on.
That's smart. Yeah, I think that's a really smart flow. And it's good that you know your creative flow. For me, it's
Mm.
about like a 3 hour stint. But the way I
Mm.
work is instead of taking a break, I switch minds to a different project for a little
Mm.
bit. And then I come back to another one. So I'll go work on a client project really intensely for 3 hours, go off and work on my own passion project or something for an hour if I have time, and then back to the client project for 3 hours. And then just kind of build it up until I get, hit that 8 hour mark or whatever.
Okay.
And then I also introduce like jujitsu and family and friends and social media stuff and these streams as well. They're a big part of the day. So, but that's good. I think everybody that if you're listening to this, it's really important to find your creative flow and find your creative rhythm. Because if you don't, it's difficult. You're gonna find yourself hitting a lot of ruts. I remember getting really upset and irate when I first started doing creative work where I didn't know my rhythm, and then I would let people,
Mm.
I'd do meetings and weird stuff, and people would keep bugging me, and I would get like almost like creative diarrhea or
Yeah.
constipation. I mean, like, ugh, like
Yeah.
I need to get this out, and then it won't come out. I need to have I need to get stuff out basically, and having that rhythm,
Mhm.
that flow to be able to allow it was really important. It's difficult to get there though, so.
I have like with my friends who sometimes ask, okay, I need your help. Can I get your opinion? I never discuss any creative ideas after 7 p.m. It's just like like especially not after 9. It's like, okay, it's a no because my mind I will not be able to fall asleep because
Yeah.
your mind starts to generate things, ideas. No,
Yeah.
after 9, 7, don't even. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Uh,
I like that. I think it's good regardless is that you found your creative flow, you know?
Mm.
And I think having that creative flow is really important, you know? And how you balance it is really key. Because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to create at your optimum, you know, clarity. And I've seen the way that you work too, and I can see how you're building a rhythm and stuff. It's really smart.
Yes.
So if you're having creative block or kind of weird things, like maybe try what we're talking about a little bit. It might help you out, you know, or not, you know, maybe just keep hitting your head against the wall like I did until you figure it out eventually. I'm sharing some of Serjan's work. Stuff's super insane. Yeah, stuff is really crazy. This is really cool. I remember you doing this because it was based on that displacement trick I was talking about, right?
Buddy, I actually I don't see what you see.
Okay. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
It's also on the live stream too, but I'll share it so you can see. But it's slightly delayed there because it's goes through here and goes a little bit longer. How about now though? You can see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. But yeah, so this is some of that amazing like geometry that you had created. Did you create this in an Illustrator and then?
No, actually, Ash, there's no Illustrator at all. Like this is mostly Cinema and Houdini, and this was more like a science project rather than artistic project. And let me begin then. Let me like start with how did it come to be? Because I wasn't I was really struggling as an artist to find my identity, right? Because I tried to be so many different things, and I ended up being like crippled generalist, and which sucks because it's back it was 2009 2008 when I really tried to learn Nuke and Maya and this and that and compositing and fluid dynamics and this and I ended up like I couldn't articulate who I was, and my work really sucked, and I didn't know why, and I really had to slow down and to what helped was mentorship with Ryan Summers, who's got birthday today, by the way.
Oh, happy birthday, Ryan Summers. Yeah. Send him a birthday love.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, send him a letter. And so let me actually switch to my screen then.
Yeah,
so that because I have this work too, and I'll just share with you guys like what the plan, what we're going to talk about today and next week.
Mm-hmm.
And so
yeah, because you're really, I remember having you as a mentorship student. You were so organized and you had so much to offer and so many things, and it was great. So I'm gonna share your screen here.
Ash, a lot of it is inspired by you, right? Like I said this many times before. Like you don't like your podcast, right? Your podcast with incredible people. It's like a gateway, a portal to other people's thinking, right? And you ingest it, and then you have that master's thoughts circulating inside your bloodstreams, and it does influence how you think. It does influence how you start to measure your work. It starts with it really sucks, but then you try to understand and deconstruct what makes something truly compelling and evocative. So let me start with. So today we actually, you reached out to me. Let's start with why you reached out to me in the first place was because of the spirals, that you saw there's something that I've been developing, and the spirals that had you respond to, and actually a lot of people contacted me and said like, how do you do it, and can I buy your rigs? I was like, no, because what you saw, and I showed it to you when we spoke before. It wasn't really design. It wasn't driven by design or trying to create something cool. It was actually part of my science project that I'm doing in Houdini and Python, and where I deconstruct plants and stuff and trying to extract certain formulas.
Yeah.
It was a lucky discovery that I found something, I understood something, and I started to use it more and more and more in the design. And that's what my intention today, to share with you guys how it began for me and how I'm using it now, and what you and I are working on something as well.
Yeah, we're doing some really amazing stuff together.
Which
is the
best
work we both ever made. I'm really excited.
Yes.
We'll talk about that later. It's really going to be something special. Yeah.
Feeling proud is is super important for me.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you reached out and when we discussed the idea, it was like, okay, this is going to be the next level of expression for me as a designer, and the next level of expression for you as a director. And this felt so incredible because you don't settle for less. right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you set the bar, and this is when the best work happens, when you don't have some other client that's driving the quality. You are the one who's create the measurements.
Yeah,
Anyway,
absolutely.
today we're going to be talking mostly about spirals and the mathematics of spirals,
The
and and
addiction
uh,
of spirals too.
and you guys will see how there's different spirals and what they can produce. And next week, I will talk about my Houdini design that I got that I won the competition for.
Yeah, man.
And I'll show you guys how I made it. I show you the whole process of how I created the temple and how I created different cables and how, because I'm profoundly proud of this one because I was able to achieve, and yeah, I'll show it to you. Like
You should be
I'll
proud
give you,
of it. It's incredible. I haven't seen anything that looks this nice before. So, like in this
but
world. So,
yeah, and you'll see like when I take you to my viewport and when I really show you like how different. Right now, what you see, I think about 15 different splines and the way they align together, in a way that actually makes it feel like it's one unified piece. And I'll show you the mathematics behind it.
so cool.
So
So
and
cool.
yeah, this one really is, and it was a surprise. It was massive, dude. It was massively stressful. I did not know I was going to pull it off. When
Yeah.
I entered the competition, I was really clear that I'm not. If I start something and I'm investing my time into it, it's got to be something that truly forwards me. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna recycle anything. I'm not here to recycle someone else's work. I'm doing this because there's an aspect of life that I want to understand through design, and I want to use this contest as an opportunity to do that. And also, my intention was to elevate how people see Houdini, because like Houdini has this notorious reputation for, oh, it's mostly for destruction and VFX
Simulation.
industry. Yeah, but it's not, man. Like and Tagma has been changing that perception as well, which is really
Yeah.
nice, like creating a lot of beauty. And but their stuff is really there's a lot of coding,
Yeah.
which I'm just getting into, more and more. But man, like when I show you some of my like why I love Houdini, because it makes me think like a biochemist, and it makes me approach design like a chef, because you have different nodes, and different nodes are like different mathematical concoctions that you combine together to create something.
So
Yeah,
cool.
that's how I look at it. So
You really take
the
into the program though. You really just immerse yourself completely into it and
yeah.
dedicated yourself. And I think that's what you get. You get these kind of awesome images because you're really so focused on it, which I think is awesome. So, yeah.
The I'm also going to show you something. For example, with this temple, it will be the same formula, but you will see a different approach to design, which is generative design, which is the design using the same algorithms that nature uses to uncoil a seed. And I'm going to show you how we're going to take this pentagon and we're going to grow this into this temple.
Yeah.
So cool. So give me one sec. So before I move on, actually, I want to also show you a little bit more what I was able to, like what I've been using Houdini for. And it's not what, again, most people use it for.
Which I think is good though. You're giving it like a different purpose, which is important.
Yeah.
You're tapping into unknown territory, which is great.
For example, I'm going to show you guys different grids from this particular body of work called the Power of Limits, and then I'm going to show you how this particular book really influenced my design sensibility and how I go about doing things. And for example, with this particular project, I took the different ratios of the butterfly and I started to build my anatomy of a butterfly, but inside Houdini. So I'm building different wings. I'm building, yeah.
What was that book again? Because I have it, but I want to share it with everybody in the stream.
We actually you're going to see it on my screen because I'm going to reference it a lot.
Okay,
because
cool.
it's Ash. That book is not. It's not a book. It's a language.
PDF document or something.
What's that?
Which one was it? Was it the PDF document or something? Because I have a couple books that are really powerful
It's
that you recommended that are really awesome because it does all the ratios of the Power of Limits. Yeah, the Power of Limits is that book though, isn't it? Because I have that.
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Continue.
Yes, sir.
Just want to make sure people are getting. I'm sharing the goodness with everybody.
Okay.
I'm putting a link for this book so you guys, if you guys are interested and curious in geometry and stuff, it's only like I don't know, like $12 or something on Amazon. And Sergey, like exactly like these are the best. Like these books. It's like you get $11 and then endless amounts of awesome. So
it's interesting. You'll see that what he's done. I think he's done immense scientific project and immense service to designers because he deconstructed the science and mathematics behind design principles. And I'll show you guys that as well. I want to show you a couple designs first because when I show you how it's done, it might be a little bit boring because in my experience, people expect, oh, just give me the rig or just tell me exactly how you did it. It's different way of thinking. It basically makes you gotta think like a spider when you build certain splines. And the book goes in depth explaining that as well. So we're gonna touch on it. So awesome. I'm just so the first thing when you wrote to me, like you said, okay, this is really cool. And when I just started to experiment with those shapes, it was flat shapes. Like it was actually okay, and I was like, okay, how can I take the same algorithms and build it into 3D shapes? And I want to show you something I don't think I've shown this to you.
This is your we're in Houdini right now for those that are curious and interested.
So just give me one sec.
The learning curve for you in Houdini, was it a big one, or was it you just fully immersed yourself in it and then it kind of came together for you?
Ash, so it's a good question, and I'm going to talk about someone who I respect highly. His name is Rohan Dalby, and it's okay that we because it kind of happens naturally. The most talented Houdini instructor that I've come across, and there's many different Houdini instructors. He just makes things remarkably clear. Like remarkably clear, and when I opened Houdini for the first time, I was like, "Yeah, fuck it, it doesn't make any bloody sense to me." Right?
Same.
But yeah, and it can be overwhelming. And I also took Adam Swap's class, and I told you my feedback. Like it's 50% amazing, 50% okay. But if you are beginning, if you really need a solid structure, because with Houdini you cannot have it highly advisable not to have how do you call them? Like you gotta have a mastery as your point of navigation, clarity as your point of navigation. If you just want to I just want to understand this trick. This is not with all due respect. This is like not After Effects. There's no plugins for Houdini. You need to understand how to build things and the power that you get. Like you get incredible unlimited power in terms of bringing your ideas to life. Like no other software gives you this much power. Dude, like just a week ago, I started to look into animation in Houdini. Holy fuck. Like it's like Ash, when I showed you, I was like it beyond what I even expected.
Sure.
The things that you can do with this.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. And yeah. Let me slow down because I get excited, then I jump back and forth.
It's good. That's why I figured we would do this in a couple parts, because I know we're going to jump around naturally as conversations do go. So, yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just want to show you a couple things, how I use those, some of those rigs that you saw for the 2D shape, but now I'm applying them on a 3D shape, and you're going to see what it produces. Just give me a sec. So I was rebuilding and using certain beehive math and started to build the structures. Look at that.
These are the ratios that you got from the book, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I can clarifying for the peeps. This up a little bit.
One sec. And right now I'm on a laptop because I couldn't use the my other computer.
Excuse me.
This is
this is the ratio math of a honey formation, right? A honeycomb, is that what you said?
Some of them. Yeah, I would like. I'm going to show you
them and stuff, right?
Yeah. Yes. It's because you experiment with different things, and the cool thing that happens is, I think it's this one. this was like a really beautiful surprise. No, not this one.
I think I like the idea that how you're referring it to cooking because it makes it human and natural too. I've never heard that about Houdini, but it makes it much more approachable.
Yeah,
Ah, it's so cool. Look how dense that is. Jeez.
yeah.
Wow. And you're not using like a crazy machine too. You're using like
No,
a
man. And yeah, like my laptop is steaming right now. It's a MacBook Pro, and we have a construction at my building, so I had to leave my place, and
ah,
they started today, and I was like, okay, I can't do this, and I have to go to my friend's place.
ah.
But yeah,
That's so cool. Can you go closer into that mesh? I would love to see closer.
absolutely,
I
yeah.
just wanted people
And
to see
see,
how dense it is.
and you like, and this is not even like super dense. This is like you can create so much more,
That's so cool.
so much more.
It's just really incredibly beautiful because you're using math and then you're throwing these like recipes,
Yeah,
like you said, together
correct.
and
Yeah,
creating this. It's like it's stuff that I haven't seen before, and it's in a whole different. It's a whole different thing, you know. So yeah, that is just so cool.
and you will see, like I show you, when you understand the basics, how to use certain ratios, you will just see why things work the way they do.
Sure.
Like, um,
Because the
okay.
ratios at the beginning, it's like something we always talked about in class too. Is I'd say like,
Hmm.
complexity comes from many things combined, like many
Correct.
simple things combined. And so
Yeah.
it's like a simple ratio, like a spiral or something, might seem simple in its smallest sense, but when you exponentially stretch that out over and then combine it with
Yeah.
other ones, that's what you get these really interesting formations, right?
Yeah, man, and you'll see like the science and architecture to create that fusion,
Mm-hmm.
such that it poetically builds into something that complexity looks like it's intentionally structured.
Ah,
So
yeah.
it's not, and you will see some people say, oh, it's generative design. No, you'll see it's you are the one who actually. It's not random. I don't just punch numbers and it have no. You got to understand how it works.
Yeah.
And for me, it started with actually deconstructing how watermelon works, like how it grows, and yeah, watermelon, tomato, and blackberry. Like when I would really go deep and try to understand the mathematics and architecture of it,
Yeah.
that's what inspired the design. So
It's
let me
awesome.
move a bit forward. Yeah, so this is actually speaking of ratios. My bad. That's my hometown.
Yeah, let's talk about that too.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love
Uh,
to. It's important, Origin stories are very important.
yeah. So this is what I mentioned. Sometimes people respond to something, but beyond the ability to articulate why. Like you walk into a cathedral and you just like you feel it, right? You
Hmm.
feel that the place was crafted with intention. The same thing with music. The same song, but performed by different artists, evokes different resonance, right?
Hmm.
There's actually there's a reason behind that.
Yeah.
And you will see also how geometry and ratios are going to give you an answer to that. The in design principles, the principles that we've tried to master, like negative space, alignment, repetition, balance, and stuff like this, those are actually ratios of density of different geometry.
Hmm.
If you just look at it anatomically, that's what it is, right? And if you look, for example, what I always loved about your work, you have really refined taste of a composition.
Hmm. Thank you.
There's certain like shots that you crafted that was like, okay, it feels incredible. But when I would, for example, deconstruct your frames, yeah, there's a certain ratios that you actually aspiring for,
Hmm.
but you might not know that, but your body knows that. It's like if you think about it, what is mastery? What is anatomy of mastery? And it's actually a refined sensibility for those ratios.
Hmm.
That's why Da Vinci studied anatomy and he studied plants and stuff like this before he created his masterpieces.
Hmm. Yeah, because what we're doing is we're mimicking what we know of the known world based on our senses, which are very primitive, which is
Yeah.
touch, sense, and sight, and then how you interpret that to manipulate it when you regenerate it. Then
Hmm.
I think that on a very high level, that's really, like you said, a mastery level. But I think with mastery comes just natural. It's like Miles Davis. I think there's a certain energy that would flow through him, or any
Hmm.
like amazing instrument, you know, handler, like Jimi Hendrix, for example, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just playing those in that certain rhythm, which can be broken down into math, could be broken down into patterns, could be broken down into ratios. But I think that that really is where deeply where mastery comes from, and you can only touch on that when
Mm-hmm.
you've dedicated so much time and hours and effort into what it is that you do, not just as repetitious practice, but at the same
Yeah.
time, observation and living it. I think
Yeah.
that's really key. And that's very difficult to teach that. You know, that's one of the things we have a hard time with, like
Oh yeah.
trying to teach at school here is like,
Yeah.
you know, these kind of things. It's just because there's no, you don't acquire this overnight. You just simply, you just don't.
This is incredible. Like because like and let's talk about this a little bit because
Yeah.
the how do you teach taste? Right? I mean, sometimes how do you communicate? How do you upgrade someone taste? You cannot do this. You cannot upgrade someone taste overnight as well.
No.
However,
Yeah.
yet you can know. Okay, I like this. I don't like this. For example, I had a good taste, but was I able to design good? No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
So that dissonance. Yeah, okay, I understand this. This looks pretty. This doesn't look pretty. Or this looks harmonious.
Yeah.
But like when I was taking your class, yeah, I found I sucked, and I couldn't understand I why and at first,
Yeah.
right?
I wouldn't say you sucked. I think you just had certain things that you were clinging to, you know.
Yes, yeah,
And I think that you had a comfort zone that you were clinging to, and you didn't want
yeah,
to jump away from that branch. And I had to
yeah,
shake you up a little bit, you know. I
yeah,
remember that session where I was like, if you don't listen to what I'm giving you, then you can't
yeah,
take it, you know. And so,
yeah,
but what was good though is I learned how to be a better instructor from your
hmm,
feedback because you gave me
yeah,
really good feedback. It was hard to take, but at the same time, it helped me understand that I needed to be better at communicating what it is
hmm,
that I do so that you can get the most out of it, you know, because that's really
yeah,
difficult. But
yeah,
how you teach taste, I mean, you literally cannot teach taste.
hmm,
You can only, it's like as an instructor, you open a door, only you must walk through, and then by walking through into that door, you take on the habits of acquiring taste, and taste comes from what you love. And if you might be raised in Iceland, and I might be
hmm,
raised in Hawaii, and our sense of our natural environment, our the way that our moms raised us or whatever might be completely different. So our taste
hmm,
comes completely different from a different time, a different era. You know,
hmm,
think about like we'd mentioned Da Vinci, like his taste is from a different era, a different way of thinking, a different lifestyle. There's
yeah,
no way that his taste would evolve or be even on the same wavelength of us now. But the thing that makes it relatable is the core aspects of mastery and curiosity. And those two things are
yeah,
they're the things that transcend time. Curiosity and mastery. Those two things are the most important things to take from him, I think personally, that I've learned from him in his journey. So, but it's difficult. You know, you can't teach taste. You can only infer it because that when we do the mentorships and stuff, I was
hmm,
very cognizant and aware that, hey, you might have something really important and special here, and I don't want to push myself onto you.
hmm,
Because I don't want to just make you a clone of me. That doesn't do what I think
yeah,
I need to do. It actually hinders you from growing because all you're going to do is go out and copy me, and everybody's going to say, well, you're just a clone of Ashthorpe.
yeah,
And we had a
yeah,
lot of that feedback too. We had this one guy who was like kind of trolling us about it too, and I was
hmm,
like, well, I get it, because he's like, you're just creating clones of yourselves. I'm like, well, that's not the intention. But
hmm,
if there's only like, it's almost like solar systems. I'm like a son of my own solar system, and if you get too
hmm.
close to that, you're gonna get sucked into my gravitational pull, and it's gonna be hard for you to sling out of it. So this is something to think about, though. But
No, you actually said the right thing to me. Like when you said, okay, just mimic me first. I'm gonna just use this verb. Just mimic me first and understand this, and then forward it.
yeah,
Right?
exactly,
Like,
yeah,
but understand my geometry of thinking, and then take it forward. But I'm here to teach you.
yeah,
Right? You get the foundation because what actually helped me to Ash, it was to admit I was wrong, like
it's
radical,
difficult.
very much so,
Yeah.
very much so, and like
Nobody
I
wants to be wrong, right? We like,
the
especially now. We don't want to. We want to be masters in knowing what we do. You know, but we're all wrong all the time. And the only way to teach and to learn is to be wrong. So
that was my slide for that. Like, it's like, you know what, this is how I felt. This was my pitch book. You know, this was my style frame. That this is, look, this is what I'm bringing you. You know, but when I started design, I was like, you know what, let's do this. You know, like I'll do what it takes. And I was such a fool, man. I was such a fool. And like, you know, trying to fast track things, trying to I'm going to watch another tutorial, accumulating this information fat, and becoming like a master of nothing. And you know, like I'm admitting I had that sort of, you know, the new software is out, you know, like, because I need the new Maya, I need this one, V-Ray.
Oh
And
my God.
and if you go in forums, like this interesting obsession, people defending render fucking engines, and nobody talks about design and taste and art. You know,
I can't stand that. A lot of CGI guys I've met, they're like, yeah, this and that, but their art sucks. I'm just being straight. Like, it just doesn't look good because they don't have a sense of design, composition, any of that stuff. They know how to push the buttons, but they don't know how to push the buttons to make them look good, you know? So, which is a huge problem, as you're mentioning. Yeah. Because why use the tools if you don't have the skills, you know, to see the design and see it forward and think about it in a bigger way, you know?
I want to share briefly. Like, for me, it started with this movie, the making of the Matrix. Actually, I mean the Matrix, but then the making of the Matrix.
Yeah.
Like, if you guys,
I love that book. It's a good book.
Oh my God! Like, when I think I watched it in 2009, and I was like, it was life changing because
Yeah.
it was a different way of thinking about crafting a story. Every shot was hand drawn, thought out. You know, every single thing, like so much dedication and love to. If you guys get this book, like, it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I'm
By the way,
putting
you
a
know,
link in the chat for you guys.
sometimes in your podcast you actually talk about the movies, right?
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? So in The Matrix, there's one question I haven't seen anybody discuss, and that, what does he need to hear to exit the Matrix? Because
Yes, that's a good question.
because everybody talks about, you know, what's happening inside,
Yeah.
but he exits it through sound. So what does his body needs to biologically hear, process, to disconnect his whatever digital soul? Yeah, I don't have an answer. But
Me neither. I'll have to think about that one. It's a good one though. Yeah. It's
So speaking of the, you mentioned several times curiosity, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what's been driving me, and that's what's been. I want to know how things are made, and some people who know me, they know I don't argue with people. I'm not interested in. I have questions that I'm looking to answer, and I want to find satisfying and fulfilling answers to my questions, and it's just between me and me. Like, that's what's truly actually driving me. That's why I'm studying I'm studying biochemistry. I'm studying solar physics and stuff like this, because I'm curious, and I'm curious about the, for example, geometry of radiation and stuff like this, and about the design, right? Because what's some people don't understand is that shape reveals to you function.
Yeah.
In plants, in vegetables, in anything. It's and it's not random, right? Like, the shape is not random.
It's
So I
because it's
wouldn't.
designed over time.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to briefly share. Like, I wish I heard that maybe 9 years ago, because that would have helped me bypass a lot of mistakes. Don't rush anything.
That's beautiful.
Like, focus on mastery. Like, really slow down and just do what it takes.
It's hard, right? Because I get so many people asking me, like, hey, have you learned that program? You tried that one? You just, I'm like, fuck, man. You know, like, there's too much. And so you have to be patient, because there are so many things to learn that if you aren't patient, you're literally going to self-implode. And you have to fall in love with hard work, because that's really where your best growth happens. And if you can love that, that's where all the good stuff is. That's a great one from Gary V. That's a good one.
You know, Ash, I think it's a bad plague and legacy of tutorials. You know, like, okay, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and everybody knows tricks, but nobody knows. I mean, okay, I'm exaggerating. Not nobody knows, but a lot of people have not dedicated enough time to learning how to think, design thinking. right?
Yeah, yeah. That's difficult. Yeah.
So another one is the Gordon Ramsay, because like him saying that inspired me to slow down and learn Houdini the way I do it right now. Like I don't rush anything. It's being able to take any idea, and I just want to be able to, whatever idea I have, I want to, if I imagine it, I want to be able to bring it to life. That's what's really driving me. And
that's great.
another one
Gordon he's so good at even beyond just cooking though. He's so good at entertaining. He's really figured out he can be a little crazy and intense, but I like watching his shows. But I mean, he isn't just a chef anymore. He's like an icon of food, I guess, if, in a sense, which is quite interesting because he's evolved beyond the kitchen. He went on to television and creating these kind of interesting worlds around food and the importance of food and the intensities of food, so it's a bit intense, but yeah, entertaining nonetheless.
This is the one Brian Whisk. He's someone I work with, and he said something that really this sentence really altered trajectory of my professional evolution, because if there are certain things that you want to create in life, be mindful who you share them with. Because there are people that can piss on it or disempower you or give you advice that's purely wrong.
Yeah.
For me, that was a big lesson to learn when there's something I wanted to bring to life. And I deeply regret what I did when I shared it with someone. But this one, and this is like, for example, I'm not going to name the names, but for example, in your recent experience when you didn't want to settle for less, right? If you, or there's something that was really important for you, that there's no way that you would allow someone to tell you, who is the master practitioner of your craft, how your craft needs to be done, because by someone who's not qualified, right?
Yeah. Or is not going to be doing it at all. So,
yeah. Okay, so the other one is Elon Musk.
If we could be more vague, we could, but that's as vague as we're gonna make. Yeah, no, but it's true though. Be the master of it and take that risk. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so the other one, that's yours, right? The nature holds patent on all human creation. Yeah. And Ash, this has been the sentence.
I got that from Ridley Scott, who got it from somebody else. So yeah,
I haven't been able to find who said that. Like I googled it.
Well, I said it, and there you go.
Okay.
No, I got it from. I think it. No. Actually, what Ridley Scott said, his mother is necessity is the mother of invention, is what he used to say. So, but I thought maybe it is me. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I read so much. So much information goes through my head that I totally lose sight of things. So, but nature does hold the patent to all originality, I think. So that's my thought.
So a good question would be then, how does nature design? Who designs nature? And at least these are the questions that I've been exploring and that I try to answer for myself. And it's the inquiry into the world of these questions that actually took me onto a certain trajectory that led me to studying spirals and certain mathematics and certain numbers. And we get into that. Yeah. So this is what my mind has been preoccupied. What is the geometry of a masterpiece? What is the geometry of true resonance? And there's many different masters that even Maciej references, in his classes. I'm going to focus on one, Da Vinci, because he's a designer and a scientist, and
curious mind.
Yes, and what's interesting is if you study Raphael, Donatello, and really like many other masters, they actually studied nature.
Yes.
To become good at what they are. There's an interesting film called The Man Who Saved the Science. Have you seen it? It was on PBS.
No.
About 2 months ago.
The Man Who Saved the Science?
Yeah, The Man Who Saved the Science on PBS. Yeah, and it's still on the website on pbs.org.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Gonna watch it.
Because it's about him. It's about Da Vinci. So I studied his work deeply. I was really curious about, okay, what did he consider to be important? What did he pay attention to? Because, because of the work that he produced. And what's interesting, it's him studying ratios, right? Like you will see him studying certain geometry that influenced his work, influenced how he paints and what he designs.
He had a Neo moment. He was like dissecting the universe and trying to figure out the math behind it so that he could recreate
Yeah,
it, like we
yeah,
talked about. And
yeah,
that's really, in a nutshell, that's kind of what he was doing. Whether he
yeah.
knew it or not, I'm sure he did because he was incredibly smart and very inquisitive. But yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And that's why I put here a question as a point of navigation, and that it's important to know
that's good.
what question is circulating inside your bloodstreams that has you explore and not settle for less. So you will see in my research, I call them pentagonal, hexagonal brushstrokes of nature. You will be blown away if you really do a deep inquiry into this world, and you will see how the foundation of life has these two shapes. Be it a watermelon, be it a snowflake, or anything.
Does it
And
kind of blow your mind and get you thinking about stuff? And like, does it keep you up at night thinking about this kind of math and how everything?
yeah, and
How
I
do you
got
deal with that kind of reality?
I,
Because
uh,
it's really kind of effed up, you know?
it's dude. It's the more so. When we keep going, I'm going to answer this question because yeah, there's some things that I'm discovering, but I'm not comfortable saying yet because that's why I'm studying data science and programming, because I'm actually building a certain project and I'm using Houdini as my research tool. And when I get enough satisfying and evidence of what I'm discovering, because I just really want to support that,
Yeah.
then I'll share it with you guys. But it has to do with design, and it has to do with certain grids. Yeah.
That's awesome. You just keep
Anyways,
going, man.
yeah, yeah. So there's many different books, and in your class, and you shared many books as well on grids. You're obsessed with grids as well, and there's many. I'm sharing with you some of my favorites, and then I'm going to focus on one that I would consider to be the Bible of design. So, but this is like if you really want to go deep into this, these are the books. The one, A Little Book of Coincidences, will just blow your mind in terms of coincidences, but you will see that they're not coincidences. They're intentionally architected things. The Fractal Geometry of Nature is the book by Mandelbrot. And the Curves of Life. It's the book is about 120, I believe, years old. It has about, I think it's the next one. It has about like 500 pages of surgical. I call it surgical deconstruction of design, because there's many examples. Like I wouldn't be able to put enough slides to show that.
How did you come upon these books?
Ash, again, just exploring that question.
Did Amazon kind of help you find them, or did you? Because Amazon's pretty damn good at helping me find good books too.
But again, as you said, you got to be careful, as it can suck you in.
Yes. Yeah.
So and it was really dangerous because there's many books, and what I'm sharing with you guys, it's just okay. This is what I'm advising.
Yeah.
Because I looked into it, and I looked at many other things. So start one, complete one, because you need to understand you need to understand what the logic and the formulas inside the books. So another one, I loved it, and this is from the 18th century. The book is in German, but you can get it online, just like browse online.
Yeah.
This guy studied the geometry of sound, and the book is full of patterns that he discovered through making different experiments on sound. And this book gave me idea how to do something in Houdini and with sound, and for the sound to produce certain shapes.
Yeah.
And again, I know I'm vague, but I'll share that later.
That's so cool.
But
this is where it comes from. Sorry to cut you off, but I want to just want to bookmark this really quickly in this conversation because it's so important. I don't want anybody that's watching this to let this stuff go over your head. Look the way that Serjan's extracting information. He's curious about nature. He's curious about this stuff. So what he does is he goes into these time capsules called books. He goes and extracts this amazing information from people that are completely obsessed and addicted and driven to find these different mathematical equations, and then they document them. They capture them in time, and then years later, Amazon pops up and says, "Hey, buy this book." And then you take the book. I'm just messing with the Amazon thing, but you take the book, you bring it into your life, and you let it be something that's of importance, and then you take it seriously, and then you let your mind unravel into this world, and that's really, to me, that's like, that is like Bella. That's like creme de la creme. You know, that's it doesn't get better than that. That's the coolest stuff. You're not going like, let me go on Google. You know, no, you're like looking at Pinterest. Like, that's only it's. You know, we talk about this a lot. That's only on the surface. You know, you're going deeper into this, and I think that all the gold and the good stuff is down below the surface. You really need to go into that, pull that up out of that, and then let it shine. I think it's really important. So,
I will when we go into Houdini, probably a bit later today or next week. You guys just will see how that informed certain explorations that I've been making, especially with a spiral. Like, I'll show you exactly the anatomy of how it came to be. But it's you're right, 100%, and it's
awesome.
Yeah, so if something, highly recommend, because you'd be surprised how sound contains clues about the nature and architecture of where we are at. I mean, what we are inside. I don't know what the proper way to say this, but the book that's really worth exploring as well.
Yeah,
geometry of sound and the patterns that you will discover are incredible. Why it's useful if you're a UI designer, you'll get incredible grids that you can use to whatever project you're doing. Like, you just cannot go wrong. Like, you'll see that there's, like, whatever you do, there's certain grids that will become available to you, and certain clarity will arise as you read this and as you really try to understand it, that really will upgrade your design sensibility. That's what happened to me. And like this month, dude, like this is doing crazy things to me. Like when we, that was a month ago when we talked about it.
Yeah, about so.
And what it's the electron configuration.
Yeah.
The ratios and again the ratios and the grids behind them, and very interesting. So now we're gonna go a bit
because that's a periodic chart, just so people understand.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And so in the periodic chart, if you look at everything from the basics, and then it increases in complexity as scientists discover new parts that make up our universe, new sections. Look at the ratios that are existing, you know. So let's focus on like
nitrogen.
So boron, look at how simple, and then carbon, like look how simple. Two was it two hydrogens and how does it work for the carbon? I forget the setup for it.
Oh, dude, I cut them out. I probably
But then there's nitrogen. Look at and it starts to get a little bit more complex as we start to discover it and understand it. And then you just look at iron, and then cobalt, and then now like cadmium. Dude, it's nuts. It's so cool. Like it's
but it's cool. But also remember, and that's also dictates their function. You know, the geometry that you see, it also reveals to you and gives clues to you about the function of this, whatever that is.
Yeah, it's insane.
So we're going to go into a bit more practical right now. In art, you know, this is a frame from one of your courses on matte painting.
Yeah,
and
Matt Spearman's class.
Yes, and everybody talk about the golden ratio and a spiral, right?
Yeah.
Okay, use the spiral for composition because it works and awesome. And and you can take it much deeper. And I'm going to show you. And this is a 2D spiral because you just put it on top.
Yeah.
And I'll show you a 3D spiral that I built out of these proportions and how it can be used in design. And yeah, you're gonna like that. It's really cool.
It is super cool.
But again, it started with, okay, so I see the spiral and I see these numbers. Like, what if I build it in 3D?
Where do you get these numbers from?
But that's Fibonacci numbers.
Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure people are clear to it because those are prime numbers, aren't they?
Yeah. So what I did,
besides eight is not a prime, but it's a developed set that works as a ratios into one another. Okay.
So as you can see, I'm just going to switch back to 3D spiral.
Okay.
So what you saw, so we saw this one. One sec. Right? This one.
Yeah.
That's a spiral. It has a certain numbers. So I build that in 3D. And so what you see is a Houdini viewport. Let me just open. See that?
Yeah.
And you can use this for composition, for creating textures, for many things, man. Yeah. It's actually for layout. I'm experimenting with this, and I'll show you examples maybe in a couple of months. But there's something I'm experimenting using these ratios for layout.
So cool.
But it would be interesting, like when you overlap that over, for example, like this is my chase photo from my chase class.
Yeah.
There's certain, again, size of what's on the foreground. There's a certain size in the middle ground and in the background. There's a reason why it's mathematically makes beautiful sense.
Yep.
And what I'm saying is that when I show you a bit more, you will see how this is used here.
Yeah, it helps you infer your decision making upon making regenerating perfection based on ratios and math. We used it a lot when we did the project 2501. Myself and the guys at Wedge and Lever, we used the golden ratio for a lot of the grid setups for the posters, actually. So we set it all up in InDesign. We set up a grid, and we use that as the proportional dimensional setups for the grids and stuff. And I think that's why they were widely successful, honestly, because we used this perfect math to use as a pinnacle to develop the rest of the imagery and stuff. So, which is really important.
So in this book, The Power of Limits, it's the let it be the first book you open if you are new to grids, because this is the most remarkable, the most distilled research on the mathematics and geometry and architecture of everything. Like this guy, he deconstructs plants, sacred temples, airplanes, butterflies, insects, all different pieces of artwork, like everything, and to immaculate precision. Like he basically shows you, but this should not be taken lightly. Like really, it's so easy to overlook it. Oh, okay, now it looks kind of pretty cool. I'm going to look at the next one. No, like actually study it. Like slow down, and if you're a modeler, build the same temple and use the same ratios.
Yeah.
But the amount of power in here is amazing. I have several people who ask me, okay, how do you do what you do? And I told them, this is the book. Really, really study it, because it will give you the clues. And the guys were like, okay, well, I read it. So what? No, it's like, okay, but you can watch a video on ballet. It will not make you a ballet dancer, right? Like you really need to, or jiu-jitsu, right? You will not become you really need to go and get it to be able to understand. It's like, dude, it's like your mind gets wired for this efficiency.
Yeah.
Like the more you study, when I say study, maybe I should say rebuild it. If you take one design and rebuild it, I spent like probably 1 week or 2 weeks on just one chapter, trying to really fully understand how this is working and what.
But look what you got out of it. You get to take apart a little piece of the matrix. One little cube at a time, and you're trying to dissect it. Yeah.
And the key thing actually was when in the book he talks about how spiders make the web, and that was really key for me. Oh wow, I can actually exactly at the same points where the spider makes a knot, I can just increase the point number. Okay, and that idea just showed up in my head, and I built it in Houdini, and that's how those spirals got birthed. But again, the incredible book. But it would be so cool to make like a course out of it. But at the same time, because it's his work, right? Like it's I don't know. Crazy.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, okay. He is. Yeah.
We should get him on the podcast, dude, or on the stream.
No, that would be amazing. Because I actually,
have you reached out to him?
No, not yet. He's from Seattle. Yeah, we should.
People are asking about your rendering. You're using Mantra Render, right?
Right now I'm using Arnold.
Okay. There you go.
The Mantra is probably the most powerful renderer on the planet, but it's also the slowest one.
Use that for the Houdini
because I
main
because
thing,
I
right? That you
yeah
did.
because I had to because,
Yeah, because it was a Houdini thing. So yeah,
yeah, because it was a Houdini contest. It had to be done all in mantra,
yeah,
and it is slow, and everybody knows that, and side effects knows that. But it's
yeah.
also really really powerful,
Mm.
but it's slow. That's the only downside.
But Arnold's
So
really great though, and it can
it
handle
is.
a ton of geometry, as you
Yes.
mentioned.
Yeah.
Octane can't,
Mm.
and I think Redshift can't handle that kind of.
No, no,
Um,
because the yeah, no.
it just destroys the card.
Okay, so just let's go a little bit further.
Yeah, we got
Again,
5 minutes just to let you know if you wanted to do it for an hour. So just giving you a heads up, and we have questions. So
okay, so let's just finish
don't
this.
feel like you have to
This.
rush too. So we
Okay.
can, yeah, we can always
I
come
just
back too. So
okay, and then I'll also share like what's ahead so that people know because this is important as the foundation to understand because if you don't like it might not make sense, you know,
yeah.
later. Um, have you seen the movie Whiplash?
Oh yeah, I love it. It's great.
Yeah. So he's asking a question: were you rushing or were you dragging?
Hmm. Yeah.
Right? And that's so in the Power of Limits, he's got an answer to that question. Like basically, it's like it's not too much, it's not too little. It's like it's a perfect harmony that just works. Like there's not yeah.
It's awesome. And showing the harmony of the keys and the yeah, it's so crazy.
He actually shows beautiful correlation between design and everything, every ratio that we that we know in design principle, like every ratio that we use in the design principle that makes something symphonic, that may make something beautiful and harmonious. He shows that the same thing applies to music, just like one to one.
Yeah, so cool. And then how
He
you
also,
relate that to the imagery is really key because it's breaking
mhm,
down all this stuff, deconstructing so that you can understand.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
Uh, Again, this is from his book, exactly studying how the spider makes the web.
Hmm.
And he just it would be unfair for me just to read from his book. If this is interesting to you guys, really get it. Like
Yeah, buy it, support it.
um,
It's only like $20. It's not that big of a
and
deal.
you know what? He made it so distilled.
Hmm.
Like this, you can't take a sentence out. Like it's so clean and
Yeah,
it's so illustrated. Like he just drives it home completely.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah. So cool.
So let me setting grids wise. And you know when you like when I see this his work not just as grids but as a language that you use, like
Yeah,
it is becoming the language that you think through when you do whatever you need to do design wise. And it works, man. Like when I tested it on for the Houdini contest, when I started to use the different ratios for cables, everything was overlapping beautifully, perfectly, and I was like, wow, it does really work.
yeah.
Uh,
People in the chat are freaking out. Like, how do you keep up with all this stuff? And they're like, "What is this, rocket science and stuff?" Like,
no.
I,
So this is what I want to show. Like I, even though you guys see screenshots from a Russian book,
yeah,
that's why I have some words in Russian. You'll find it in English, but man, like I went all in. Like I would just like slow down. I put it like I would scan it, put it in Photoshop, and trace it, and try to understand what ratio goes on, and then it becomes clear. Like it's like you. It's like learning Japanese maybe or foreign language. Now you understand, that's what I do to make poetry.
yeah,
It just clicks. It just requires time. But I really invested time to understand this and trace every line. Like I was making my own mathematics, trying to understand why this number, you
the
know?
ratio. Yeah,
Yeah,
like Y3, and then like why
correct.
these things can create those
Hmm.
ratios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The, I,
And it's so cool because back then, or like Gregory or whatever, I forget his name, the
mhm,
Power of Limits, but he might not necessarily understand or work with Houdini.
yeah.
But man, you're able to take his book as a time capsule and then open it
Hmm.
up and then extract it, put it into Houdini, and then create and extract your own just massive. When we do this next project, you got to make sure you send it out to him because I think that would probably make
Okay.
his day.
Okay.
Saying like, I got so inspired by your book, went off and went nuts and went
Hmm.
crazy and made all kinds of sweet, awesome 3D math.
Yeah. So I want to briefly show like what happened after, or what we're going to be talking about the I guess next week. I actually thought we are going to cover all of this, but
We can come back to it. Like we have,
Okay.
like don't
Okay.
feel rushed. I don't. The last thing I want to do is be like, oh, stuff all this stuff into people's mouth. Like if we have to do it for a third session, that's totally fine. Like
Okay, man.
don't feel like rushed, man. Like
Okay.
this is a lot to take in. This is a lot of things for people to consider. What we want to have with these streams is obviously for you to get to know me, obviously to get to know Serjan, but also everybody else that comes on here. But variety, we have somebody that comes on and knows texturing. We have somebody that comes on and knows ZBrush. It's basically to show you guys out there that we all have different interests and desires and different focuses, and that's important. And I want, from my standpoint, it's good for you to know that like just because you're different doesn't mean you're wrong, and like Serjan's not going off into ZBrush and sculpting like Captain America's butt, like you're going through and you're deconstructing math and geometry, and people might go like, well, how can you turn that into a job? You'll see, it naturally just comes about because his focus and intention, it's just gonna naturally unfold. It just comes about, and watch him evolve, because mark my words, this stuff's gonna take off and people are gonna be copying him and all kinds of stuff. In my opinion, that's at least what I think, but what do I know, huh? Why don't you show one of these things, and then I'm gonna do some Q&A, and then we'll wrap up, okay?
Okay, I just want to show a couple things. So because I just this is just geometry of the eye, right? Like it's but what I want to show you guys is that what that knowledge is now enabling me to produce and know how to produce, such that it looks structured, but it also looks organic.
So cool.
And I just want to briefly show the.
And you can move around it too, which is great.
Yeah. So that's a flat one, and then well after in the past month I've been more like into 3D.
Like creating Z depth of your geometry.
Yeah, and which is like opening another dimension.
Yeah, of course.
So I need to sleep. No, it's it really sucks you in, man. Like when I show you how to build those, like I mean, when you get excited about the Illustrator, right?
Yeah.
When you get this, man, you will just
it's game over. Yeah, I've intentionally not touched this program because I have a couple other things in my life that I need to handle. Because the moment I know that I really started to get in here, it's like I'm literally gonna grow like a fat beard. My wife's gonna hate me, and I'll never do it. I'll be like, oh God, look at this. It'll be never ending. So, yeah, this is awesome.
Give me just 1 second. I just want to show the. Trying to find it.
Somebody asked if you've studied the geometry of light.
Oh, on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Radiation, light. Interesting.
Yeah.
This is all very, very interesting.
Yeah, man.
Like I'm the next scientific paper I'm reading is about the multifractality of solar flares.
Oh, the way that it kind of expands out and what it does.
Like there's scientists that really go deep into that, and just 1 second.
Somebody's asking, are these systems infinite?
It can be. Yeah.
Somebody said it depends on how much RAM you have, or how much.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. Like, and patience, because like, dude, like this really tests my patience a lot. Because like I can't. Like you really need to have a lot of RAM. Absolutely. Yeah. Like I have 32. It's really not enough at all. Completely.
Probably need like 128 or something.
Minimum. Yeah.
Oh yeah, damn. Somebody mentioned Houdini is not a software; it's a lifestyle. That's what it seems like. Yeah.
That needs to be a tattoo or something. Why did I put it? But you know what? I'll show it next time, because I built this thing that I'm just trying to be mindful.
You find it. I'll bring up some questions while you're doing that.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's see.
Oh, found it. This one. There you go.
Ooh, cocoa butters.
That's an eye.
Oh wow. Yeah, let's get into that. Take me in there. Zoom me in. Oh man. I sent you did you see that link I sent you on the text last night at like 4 o'clock in the morning? That one with the crazy brain thing? I think I might have sent it to you earlier.
Yes.
How insane is that? That thing is so nuts. It reminded me of you instantly because of the way that the fibers and how dense it is and how beautiful. Yeah. That's awesome. So what is this? This is a geometry of an eye?
Yes, you know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just asking for the peoples.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna stop this screen, I guess.
Okay, cool. I'll pass this back over. We're gonna do a couple questions and then we're gonna head out. Okay, guys. If you have any questions that you want to have answered, just throw them in the chat box. Make sure Joe is aware of it, and we'll make it happen. Somebody asked, "What is the name of the greatest instructor for Houdini?" You mentioned somebody that's really awesome.
Yes. So
tell me I'll find it and I'll send it to Peeps.
Rohan Dalvi. And let me just message it to you. Or how should I?
You can iMessage it to me. That's
because
fine.
Yeah, he's.
Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Yeah, this guy is really awesome. You sent it to me. Let's see. A while back. Let's see. Because I was interested in learning what you were doing, but then I was like, yeah, I need to not do that right now.
He gives really, really good structure. Like, he's not rushing things. He just explains things in a really, really approachable way.
Yeah.
Like, it's just joyful. Like, I like when things are clear. I don't like when instructors, jump from one thing to another thing, especially when it comes to a complex subject like Houdini. Yeah. Like, there's many good instructors, but I think he's the best because he can really take you from A to Z in a way that you don't have a headache.
That's awesome. That's important, right? You want to have those successes, So, you also mentioned Adam Swab's class, as like he said, basically also like the beginning of his class and how he extracts it. He's working on another one right now. We're developing, which is really cool too. I think
the best thing about Adam Swab's class was actually his mentorships.
Those are sometimes the best things about classes in general. It depends on where you are as a student, right? Like if you're completely coming from the ground up, but you're obviously a little bit ahead of the curve, and so your interaction's a little bit different too. So, and what you're trying to extract out of it, you might like those live conversations of people asking questions, getting that feedback, which makes the mentorship so important. So,
can we just briefly talk about this, because I think this is the key thing that people need. Like, you need to see how a master thinks, or you need to see how a mentor thinks. Like, this is the best. I don't know how many people actually watch your 5-hour, like how you work. For me, that was the best. But Ash, I did, like you can speed it up by 200%, 300%.
Sure.
But that was the best thing that I've done.
Cool.
Because I could see how you think. I could see what you pay attention to. I could see how you measure, like, the camera angle. I could see, like, how you think, right? Unfiltered. Yeah. And the best thing with Adams was because I could see how he tried to troubleshoot something and he didn't know how to. And Houdini is not a quick, okay, we're just going to use that off the shelf. No, sometimes you need to go into help file. And just to seeing how he thinks and how he deconstructs was really useful.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And how you get that information, how you deal with it's really important. And as we mentioned earlier, how much you want it. Do you want to acknowledge that you're wrong or that you have something to learn beyond, and that's really important, So it's a whole thing, So that's one question. We have just a couple more and we're good. So can I work with Houdini if I only have CPU only? Or GPU only?
Yeah, you can. I mean, you need a good GPU to be able to see it in the viewport. It's you use that only for the rendering, right? Like the GPU or CPU.
Okay, that was one of the questions.
But the person who said you need a lot of RAM was absolutely to the point. Yeah,
yeah, because I hear it's a RAM destroyer, so you need a lot of it. Yeah. Let's see. What's the biggest difference you see in students that improve rapidly versus those who remain stagnant?
That's interesting. I have to say that even people who a lot of other people looked up to, like some, I'm not gonna. Okay, let me just slow down. Let me say it again. I think, all those progress before perfections and dailies.
Yeah.
I think they're dangerous.
Yeah.
I think you need to always work project based and not sort of masturbate with different. Okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. No, slow down. And like for example, you on Instagram, right? Like you share like the style frames you share, or even your ZBrush explorations. Everything was cohesive. Everything was in service of fulfilling an intention. So whatever you're at professionally, focus on make it project based. I don't know if that answered the question. I think it just got to be project based.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a weird thing going on with artists in the community. I think a lot of it's just mainly due to being inspired by creatives like Beeple and stuff, and how prolific he is with creating things every day. And it's nothing bad. And I've had this conversation many times before on this show. Is like, there's nothing bad with making something every day. I honestly make so much stuff every day, but I just don't share it because one of it is either for a bigger project that I'm going to release as a huge drop. And that's usually when I drop a project, I like to just go like, boom, like shake the world. And then I go, okay, cool. Now I'm back on to the next project. And rather than like little bits and pieces, but that's, it's just difficult. So it's challenging to really make that connection and make that, to make it happen, because we want such instant gratification. We don't want to have to deal with oh, I have to learn this thing, or today I don't feel like learning ZBrush, or whatever it might be, whatever your excuse is. But I think it's really important to stick with those things. For me, in regards to teaching and seeing when a student like really improves versus becomes stagnant, is the best student for me is a humbled person who's like, you know what, I have no knowledge and I have everything to win from being with you. When I do jiu-jitsu, for example, when I roll with like my high-level coaches, all belts above me, one of my biggest habits I try to do at every time after I'm done rolling with them or interacting with them is I ask them the same question every time. What can I do better? What can I do to be better? And they'll either say, you just need to keep going, or you need to watch this transition, and they'll show me like this little thing, and I go, oh man, I didn't even think about that. And I think those are really key things. And so being humbled by it, because that all that does for me is allows me to get better, allows me to get to humble myself down and go, you know what, I'm not the master here and I need to learn. And just like when you open up a book, you have to go, okay, this person's trying to convey something, and how much you want to take in is a matter of how you learn. And so it's really difficult because I have a hard time with that. And most of it's just due to ego. I'm right and I want to be right, and I'm professionally right guy. But it's just, nobody's ever like that. And if you can detract yourself from that and really make yourself a human, I think that's really key. And that I've always seen that from students. I think once you hit that barrier and that broke through that, I saw a huge growth from you. And now you went off and get into your obsession that completely goes into a different tangent, but you've managed to use all these things that you're learning from everybody, and you're using the core formula of mastery, which I think is really important.
And that was slow. Like that was not. You cannot fast track this. There's no way to fast track this at all. And but what you said, like slow down, humble. This is where I accept. This is where I'm at, and this is otherwise it's just delusional. And
you're actually becoming your own worst enemy. So. You must be like water, if I were to quote Bruce Lee or something, like you must be fluid, you must be natural, you must let it be, you must understand, you must be humbled. Like those are the things that really make you a really good student. And I think we should all be like that at all times, because we all have something to learn and gain always at all times. No, I'm not the master, you're not the master, nobody here is the master. We're all learning to be better. You might be really good at one thing, but you might suck at this other thing. That's something to also keep in perspective too, is like, I watched this one film, it was a really influential film on me called Jiro Dreams of Sushi. And it's a sushi chef in Tokyo who's like this incredible, like one of the masters in Japan, which is a huge deal. But I started thinking, you know what, like, well, he doesn't know Cinema 4D, not like it's anything against him, just saying like, we all have our own mastery, like, it's key and important to remember that. And it's easy to, romanticize about being a master and seeing what people do, but not remembering like what your goal is, and being cautious of that. I think it's really important. Yeah. Somebody asked how much Vex was used in these renders. Vex.
Not a lot. No, I wouldn't. You don't need to focus on Vex. I mean, there was some, but not much.
Okay.
You will see, and there's a different language that we're going to talk next week then about. It's about health systems. It's a different language as well. The language of plant growth and cellular structures, and that's what I'm going to show you, because that's the language that I used, and I'm going to show you how I studied it, because that was, speaking of patience, dude, to create something that was art directed, I needed to understand how it needs to think to be able to produce that shape. Sure. I want to share one thing about in connection to mastery. What really massively worked as well, to see your vulnerabilities. Like when Mike Wrigley was mentoring you, and just seeing what you were frustrated with, and just seeing how you tried to forward yourself.
Yeah.
I was like, there was something healing. I don't know if that's the right word, but there was something good about it. Just witnessing how you guys discuss ideas and how it actually, yeah, I think this is cool, but actually for selfish reasons, I think it's cool. And then he tells you presence of what elements can change that. And that was really good.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed that. I
Yeah.
had some of the best exchanges in my Learn Squared career
Mm-hmm.
with Michael Wrigley in his course. I learned so much, and I really wish I had enough time to take his next course. I'd just been quite consumed, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I had an amazing experience with him, and we had some incredible exchanges. And that, I think, recording that and sharing that with people really helps. You know, it reminds you, like, hey, like, well,
Mm-hmm.
Ash is suffering right now. He's
Mm-hmm.
having a hard time, and I think of him as this person that can just handle it, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
we all are dealing with different struggles at different times, you know. And depending on what your goals are, it just kind of reminds you that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to be humbled. It's okay to learn, and we're all learning, you know. So that's great. I'm glad you took on that because I remember you mentioning that like a while
Mm-hmm.
back, you know. 3 more questions, and we're gonna
Sure.
wrap it up. Okay,
Okay.
you good?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Can Houdini be used in live interactive performances or output something unusable?
Unusable.
Output something usable.
Probably, yeah. You
Hmm.
can, I mean, you can feed data through Python to it, and yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If that person can get clear and either send a message, what do you want to fulfill? I'll advise if I know.
Yeah. Okay. And also, everybody, I'll send a link to Serjan's website, and then follow him on Instagram. See what he's up to. If you guys have questions, he's a human. He's awesome. So he's very helpful. I mean, unless you want to tell me to tell them to screw off, but you
Actually,
can.
there's something because I didn't talk about it. I wrote an article on grid markets
Hmm.
that just go in depth in terms of. I'm going to send you the link right now.
Awesome.
One sec, because it actually goes in terms of where I was stuck, why I
Hmm.
was stuck, what I had to embrace and change, and
Yeah.
how mentorship with you, with Ryan, and with certain people actually helped me to change how I go about doing things.
Awesome.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
one sec.
Progression. Is there going to be another Houdini course? Yes. Adam Swab is building it right now.
Mhm.
He's done recording it, so we're going through the whole process of having his apprentice join in and learn and taking all that content. As soon as that's all done, boom,
Mhm.
goes out to you guys. You guys can learn it, consume it, use it, whatever you guys want to. So there you go. Last question: do you think uh, there is a way to visualize chaos? What are your thoughts on design and structure as a response to entropy? Ooh, interesting question. I'll let you answer that one, and then maybe I'll chime in.
I can you say that again?
The,
What do you mean?
yeah. So, do you think there is a way to visualize chaos?
Chaos as meaning the chaos theory,
Yeah, I
or
think the chaos theory. That's what their person's meaning. I'm guessing. So,
uh, okay.
what are your thoughts on design and structure as a response to entropy? Which is interesting.
Can you elaborate entropy? What's implied?
Let me
I'm a
ask
little
the
bit.
person. If you're here and you can hear that, tell us what you mean by it because it'd be interesting. I'm curious to see because you know with like entropy is a um, let's see, lack of order, gradual decline into disorder. That's what entropy is, right? That's what it's defined as. So I think I think what he's getting at is like breaking the grid, breaking the cycle, and finding ways of building, um,
Mhm.
chaos with the degradation of
Okay.
stuff. I guess.
Uh, we experimented with financial data doing that. That was interesting. Like have financial data change the shape,
Oh,
like when the market fluctuates.
yeah,
Maybe I'll show it to you next week, and to show how like you have if everything looks organic and symphonic and
yeah.
like beautiful, and then certain parameters change and how the shape starts to collapse on itself. And but I don't really know what that. Again, I always come from the point of view: what do you want to fulfill, and
Yeah,
what's the intention behind that? And
yeah.
you create just randomness. Sure, that's easy.
I do that all the time. Send it for 4D. So there you go.
Okay.
Button pushing. Yeah, they're just looking at like breaking the function and how it works. But I think when you're making your recipes in Houdini, you are doing that. You're trying to put different things against one another,
Oh
but
yeah.
and
Oh
with
yeah.
intention though, right?
Oh
Then
yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
you get those really interesting
Yeah.
happy
Like
accidents.
well, A lot, yeah. Like I'm not saying these are the numbers, use it, they cannot be changed.
Yeah.
No, and again, like if you study biochemistry and you study, for example, the architecture of an apple and a tomato, like what they have a lot of stuff in common.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things that, or something else and something else, like the biochromes. Like for example, I study color pigments, the architecture of color pigments, right? And the certain fruits have the same color pigments, those carotenoids, for example. I look at the design the same way. Yeah, you can use some ratio. You'll see, like in the book, you'll get it. Like you'll see, okay, I can use this ratio here from here, and then
Yeah.
I can use another set of ratios from there, and it will produce interesting designs. Because yeah, I will show you guys a bit much more of but experimenting. Like when you spoke to me, you said like I'm concerned. Will I have any lucky discoveries? Man, that's going to be a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's endless, really. How can people keep up with what you're doing? Can you send me some links so I can share it with people? So whatever you want to push them to, like whatever it's
Okay.
Instagram or our
Probably.
station or your
Yeah.
website, whatever. Let's share that so that people can get access to you. And
The
let's wrap it up.
Okay. Just Skype to you the Instagram. Like that's, I guess that'll be the best way for now.
Okay, I'll share it with you
And
guys so you guys can have access to it. So, because I think this was like, it's funny. I've been watching the comments off and on as we go through the chat and the stream, and there's people that are like, yes, and people are like, whoa, and people are like, ah. there's a whole different reaction to it, which I think is awesome. And I think it's just the intensity, the ferocity, which you bring to your curiosity and your desire to decipher things. And I think if there's anything from my perspective that if you're watching this, you should learn, is that you need to stay very curious, very intrigued by the world around you, and have that develop and work your art. Don't just look at Pinterest. Don't just look at Google. Go and buy a book, or go and ask a scientist, or go meet somebody that can inspire you, and think about things outside of the book, because outside of like the small world of, I say it's silly, but the small world of the internet, because it is, it doesn't have everything, whether people think that it does or not. You can't necessarily live on it yet still. So yeah.
and next week I'll show you practical stuff, how it's done. I mean,
Yeah.
how I used it, and I think it will demystify a lot of things, because this was actually a lot of theory kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then they'll be more practical. It will become more tangible. Yeah. But the key thing that I just want to leave people with is don't just look at it. Nice. Rebuild it. Rebuild
Yeah.
it. Like if you rebuild the watermelon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's key, So there you go. Any last words? Any last words for the peeps?
Thank you for doing this. Like yeah. It's like being on Oprah.
I am Oprah, so I'm just saying, they got tattoos, got the beard. I'd like to meet Oprah, actually. She's a freaking prolific ass person, man. She's a beast. She's
Cool.
freaking, she's huge, man. Like, she's a freaking, like an energy ball, dude. She's crazy. Yeah. All right. Well, on that note of Oprah,
Okay.
I think we're good. We're good to wrap it up. Okay. All right, guys. Everybody, hope you guys are doing well, and thank you guys for being here. We've got a ton of really positive support and feedback for this stream. Glad you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys next week. Yeah, and Maciej will be on tomorrow, I believe. He's switched the time to the evening time, so come in there and harass Mr. Potato Head, and yeah, it'll be fun. See you guys then. Peace.